What's up, guys? I'm Chris, and today you're watching a magic review on the PaC Stack by Carnazzo. Welcome to the channel, and thanks for tuning in. Please consider subscribing. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment on any questions that you have about the product I'm reviewing or anything you'd like to see in the future. Let me know your thoughts. Also, don't forget to click that notification bell so you don't miss a video or a review. Don't forget to head over to Facebook and join the Chris Edwards Magic Secret Access group. That is a group that I have kind of based around this channel where I can interact with you guys on a more personal level. And I'm also going to be providing you with a more in-depth look on certain products such as PaC wallets and other releases that I don't want to go into full detail to the public. So it's more hidden than what a layperson would be able to see. There'll be unlisted videos where I will post direct links within the group. So those unlisted videos can't be searched via anything, whether it's not visible on my channel, for one, to the public, and two, you won't be able to search those videos through the YouTube search engine or like Google or anything like that. So check that out, and in there I can answer questions in a lot more detail than I will on here. The PaC Stack is an extremely organic PaC device that is built into a gimmicked stack of billets. So the way that this looks, you would remove a billet from your stack. You then have your participant write down whatever it is, draw a picture, write down a word. You place the billet anywhere into the stack, and in the action of setting down the stack, you just got your PaC. So extremely organic, very simple to do, and extremely deceptive. If you want to retrieve the business card after you're done, this can be done by simply lifting up, pulling it out, and you've got your card back. What do you get? So you get a hard shell box, and inside the box is the tutorial, the PaC Stack itself, and a stack of blank billets. What's the quality on this? So there's two ways that you can purchase this. You can purchase the do-it-yourself instant download, which is $15, and in that you will create the PaC Stack yourself. You're obviously going to have some arts and crafts there, but it's not difficult to make. There will be some materials that you probably need to purchase, but they're inexpensive. I've looked them up just so for the sake of the review. However, this is the fully constructed, so with that you're going to get the already constructed gimmick, and personally I think that that's the route to go. You're going to get a very well made gimmick. You don't have to do any of the work, it's all taken care of, and the quality is very high in both the construction but then also the materials used. It's very well put together and didn't cheap out on inexpensive materials. So I think that the fully constructed version is the way to go. The fully constructed version is $25, so you're only spending $10 more, and like I said, I'd say that's definitely the route to take. It's worth that $10. Difficulty level. So there's really not much that you need to practice. As far as handling goes, it's all pretty natural. There's no funny moves or anything like that. The only thing that you're going to want to watch is just your angles, and then obviously like some misdirection will help, but if you're watching your angles, the misdirection isn't necessary, and it can be, you can get your PaC just in the action of putting the stack down or just moving it out of the way. There's lots of different ways to get that PaC, and it's all very simple to do, as you've seen in kind of the quick demo of me just writing something down, placing the card in, putting it back down. It's all very simple. There's nothing funny. There's no sleight of hand or anything about it. The tutorial is good. It's well shot. Getting Paul, he'll go over the construction if you get the do-it-yourself version, or you'll get the handling, kind of the explanation and quick routine. So like I said, this is a PaC device, so you're likely already going to have routines and mentalism. Then you can apply this. And it's, as far as difficulty goes, I kind of went over that already. It's easy to do. Angles, That's one thing you're going to want to watch. And without giving anything away as far as method goes, if you are familiar with the Orphic wallet or the Workers Peak, this is similar in how you'll get your peak, right? It's not the same. It's not the same, but it's similar. So I just know a lot of people are familiar with the Orphic wallet, which is why I mentioned that, because a lot of people like the Orphic wallet and the peak that comes with that. And then also the review that I did with the Workers Peak, there was a lot of good feedback on that because it's so organic and it's so easy to do. So that's why I compare this in a sense to those things. But with that said, the method is different with all three. So by comparing it to those or saying that it's somewhat similar in the way that you get your peak, I'm still not tipping anything because the methods are all completely different. So I've mentioned angles. The angles aren't bad. It is good. You basically want people in front of you. If you have people on your sides or behind you, that's where you got to watch. Now, you can improve your angles by angling yourself in certain ways, where, you know, a lot of you will understand what I mean by that, because just in other peaks, like if you're putting something away, just in the gesture of opening your coat, you cover that angle, right? And if you're looking your hand there, you cover that angle. So it's really hard to kind of explain angles, but the angles are good. You just have to watch, I guess, depending on where people are, how you want to handle this, but there is different handlings as well. Setup and reset. So if you get the fully constructed version, which is basically what we're going to talk about, because once you do construct this, if you get to do it yourself, then it's going to be the same anyway. So the setup, there is no setup. It's once you've constructed it or once you've purchased this and you get the constructed gimmick, there's nothing to set up. It's ready to go. And then reset, it's basically instant, right? All you have to do is remove the card that was placed in there with the participants' information or whatever they wrote. You'll want to remove that. That can be done in front of people, right, for basically an instant reset, as I did there, or it can be done on an offbeat or as you're walking towards the next table or a group of people. So I'd say instant reset, very easy to do. Arts and crafts, or is it ready to use out of the box? Again, just depending on which version you get. If you're getting the instant download, it will take a while to make. If you want to make this well and you want to make it right, it's not hard, but it will take a while. So again, if you want to save yourself some time, just spend the extra $10. You're going to get a perfectly constructed gimmick and it's going to save you a lot of time. Pocket space, small stack of business cards. It doesn't take up much pocket space. I'd just say, it's smaller than a wallet. It's smaller than a deck of cards. Yeah, so that's kind of my comparison. If you carry business cards, then you'll have an idea of, the pocket space. Can it be inspected? No, you can't. You can't hand this out for inspection, but the simplicity of it, I think, negates the idea of examination, because it's, a standard, looks like a standard stack of business cards, which isn't out of place. It's very organic, especially if, you're in a working situation where you're going to be carrying around billets, right? This is what you do, so it all fits in very well. I think that it's a lot more organic than a wallet, and I got nothing against wallets. I love wallets. I have a ton of wallets, but this is definitely more organic, and it doesn't look like there's anything funny going on. There's really no justification needed for why it's going back in. You could just, I'm just going to lose this back in my business cards, or back in this stack of billets, right? You don't have to justify why you're putting it in something, and not that I have an issue with that either. Is this a worker, and who would use it? This is definitely a worker because, like I mentioned, this is an organic stack of billets. It makes sense for you to be carrying this around. This is what you do as a mentalist. This is a normal prop. It's not even really a prop. These are normal tools or materials to have. And who would use this? This is directed specifically for the mentalist, right? It's a peak device, so you're going to be doing mentalism with this. Or, if you need to obtain information in some other way and you're not specifically a mentalist, obviously this will work for you too. So the idea is obtaining information or doing mentalism. So is it worth the money? $25 for a great peak, a very innocent, organic peak. I'd say it's definitely worth the money. I would say it's definitely worth spending the extra $10 to get it made. Like I've already said a number of times, just spend the extra 10, you'll be happy you did. So I do think it's definitely worth the money. It is a nice PaC device for sure. And pros and cons. So the pros are that very organic, fits in, looks good, very simple, and you get a good PaC. It's easy to do. Negatives, I think the only negative I would really have is that me personally, I don't want to take the time to make this myself for the $10 savings, right? For me, I think that spending that additional $10 makes all the sense in the world to save you the time that it's going to take to make this well. You could throw this together quickly, but you're going to want to make this well. You're going to, because it's going to last, right? And the better you make it, the better it's going to be. The only other negative that I could see is possibly, you know, just depending on where you're performing, right? If there's moisture, or like not moisture, but if you're table hopping and you know the table is wet, these are just billets, right? It's paper, so you're going to want to watch, be somewhat careful. It's not like anything's going to break, but it's paper, right? So it's going to wear over time. It might bend, it might warp. If it gets wet, you're going to want to fix that. And with that said, if it's just like the bottom of the stack that gets wet, you can replace billets in there without having to completely reconstruct the gimmick. So it's not like if some of the top cards and bottom cards just warp over time or get bent, or you know the corners become dog-eared, or the bottom few cards get wet. It's not like you have to go out and buy a new gimmick, or it's not like you have to reconstruct the entire thing. You can just replace a number of cards if needed. So with that, I think this is a great purchase. I would recommend it for sure. I will leave a link in the description below. And with that, we will see you at the next review.